I'm very excited to introduce my guest today. Heather Newman is the Principal PM Manager at Microsoft for the Power Platform. She's a podcaster, which I absolutely love, and a tech influencer who is amazing. So Heather, for those who have not met you or talked to you or heard some interesting stuff about you, tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the Geek Within. Your show is awesome, Jeremy. So yay. So that's super fun. So hi, everybody. Nice to see you, hear you, meet you if I haven't already. Let's see a little bit about me. You were saying I work for Microsoft. That's new for me. I'm about 8 months into this position, though I'm not new to working in and around Microsoft. I was a Office MVP and apps and services for a couple of years. And I think I've done worn every hat. I've been a partner with my software business, Content Panda. I started in 2001. So this is my 20th year in and around the company on the SharePoint marketing team, working for Jeff Teeper and 8 other folks when it was called Tahoe. So been around the block a little bit. And then started doing event production because I was a theater major at the University of Washington in Seattle. So I was a theater producer and actor, playwright, director, and all that fun stuff. And then a friend of mine said, hey, you want to write some case studies for my wife? Because I needed a job. And I was like, yeah. And so met her and Nancy McSherry Johnson, who I love. And that happened to be for this little product called SharePoint. And so got started there. I'm from the Midwest originally. I'm a Michigander, so I'm from the Mitten State. Grew up formative years there, Indiana and Illinois, and then Seattle for school, and then lived in Dallas for a smidge, and then I've been sort of going south. Lived in Sonoma County for a while, and now I'm in Los Angeles. And I'm in Marina Del Rey, and everybody has been, all they can talk about is the weather. And I keep just going, because it's very snowy and cold everywhere else. It's not so here. So I'm not showing what's going on outside the window right now. So
yeah, jealousy.
yeah, I lived in I lived in the Midwest most of my, growing up years. So I was in the blizzard of 76 or 7 or whatever that was. So
Yeah. So what brought you into IT? I mean, when did you know, or did you know, or did you just kind of fall into it? I mean, you just talked about the case studies. Is that what brought you into the IT field?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a theater person and a communications person, and so, but I've always had gadgets and things, in my life. So I grew up. My dad worked for J.C. Penney's for 40 years, and so like the J.C. Penney discount was awesome. So I was like cameras and, record players and walkie-talkies and all that kind of geeky stuff. And so I've always sort of had that. And my grandfather had this huge workshop in his garage, and so like I've had like saws and hammers in my hand since I was like a wee kid, right? So like I'm a maker in that way, and I love making things and ripping things apart. So so kind of all of that stuff. But then for me it was theater. And it so happened that I started a theater company with my ex-husband in Seattle, and after college, and us and a bunch of friends. And I'd always worked in, sort of not temp jobs, but kind of, but it seemed to be engineering firms.
Mm.
Or offices. I didn't go the, waiting tables route. I was not good at that and would never put up with that kind of people who do that are wonderful who put up with that kind of thing sometimes, because I could not do it. And then remembering, I was like, So I loved an office job. And so I did lots of marketing and all of that kind of thing for a long time. I worked for a company in Seattle that was all about digital film finishing equipment that they built on top of Kodak and Fuji, and it really made Kodak and Fuji mad. I worked for a semiconductor company on Willows Road, Dead IO, for a while. Shout out to my people there. I kind of have always worked in office engineering where people were building stuff. And then hello, wow. And then I kind of with the Microsoft job, I'd been doing marketing, serious marketing for arts organizations and my own art organization, my theater company, and just found that I was good at it. And I kept sort of on it and not formally trained. And then the job came up with the case studies. And so kind of working in offices in and around engineers, doing project management, all of that kind of stuff just led me to Microsoft. So tech, yes. Marketing, for sure. Producing, you betcha. And then my event producer came out in doing marketing for SharePoint. We started, I did the case studies. Nancy says that, she gave me 3 months to do it, and I did 150 case studies in 6 weeks, and was like, "What else you got?" And so, you know, was I'm what 30 at the time, and super excited about, I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And so, like, I'm working at Microsoft, and so yeah, and I just started saying yes to everything. Do you know how to do that? Yes. You know what I mean? And so I got to learn on the job a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you. And then I started event producing for Microsoft, and that's where I spent almost a decade doing that. When it was called Tech Ed, when it was
Mm.
called IT Forum, Gartner PCC, Enterprise 2.0, 20 shows a year for the SharePoints and Office teams, going around with my gang of mavens, my gals that worked for me, and producing shows for Microsoft and presence for SharePoint at those shows. So yeah, I kind of fell into it. Yeah, or maybe I leapt into it. I don't know.
That's interesting because I mean, a lot of people don't think about the fact that the marketing, the event production.
Mhm.
There's a lot of of jobs within the tech field
Oh
that are
yeah,
important to, especially when you work for a company that's producing software or systems
yeah.
that are just necessary and are part of what it means to be in technology to make it be successful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the graphic design is a huge, and UX UI is a huge, beautiful element of what we do,
Mhm.
right? And it matters so much. And accessibility experts, and it's interesting looking at, we have amazing researchers on we have this team of amazing researchers, and we actually, instead of being like, oh, we're just going to do this because we feel it, which is not the worst thing in the world, but like, we actually go talk to people and do a feedback session or a listening session and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you like? What do you want? All of that, does this work for you? And that's really exciting to have that. Not everybody has that. You sometimes take a shot in the dark and you create software without that kind of thing, But so if you love research, or if you're a designer, or, if you love social media, or, like, if you love putting on a show, you can work in the production side of things. And there's like beautiful video producers, and, all the great things that are being put out into the world right now. Like, there's a ton of jobs around that, which is really exciting. So lots
Wow.
of room for creative people, I think, because it's not, to me, that's one or the other. Everybody who does this is creative, first of all, in my book. So, you know, from the zeros and ones to the red, blues, yellows, and greens,
Oh,
So
and yeah, every type, there's different types of creativity. I'd be the first to tell you, I am not creative. I wrote code because somebody told me what they wanted, but
yeah.
I couldn't have made what I had to do look great. I mean, I paired
Mhm.
up with graphic designers and marketers.
Right.
Okay, what do you want it to look like? Show me, because
Yeah.
on my thing. I'm not the artsy person, but
Right.
it's a necessary thing. Otherwise, nobody's going to use
Mhm.
it. It's not going to
Yeah.
work. So
Yeah,
that's
and sometimes you get one shot, you get one or maybe a couple shots, and then if it's just shoddy or it doesn't work right or it doesn't make sense, people are like, meh, because there's lots of choices,
there are.
you know?
So you've been around the block a little bit, been around. So what's
Sure.
something about the way we do IT today that you would, if you had the power, if they gave you, the Harry Potter magic wand, what's
Wow.
something you would change?
Gosh, that's like writing a book report on Hawaii. Um, the African swallow. Let's see. Gosh, what would I change? Maybe. Uh, I think sometimes I think it would be maybe some of the hiring process stuff.
Mm, mhm.
I feel like that, like, I'm very unconventional with, I mean, I have a degree. I went to college and I have a BA. It is in theater. And, I feel like sometimes uh, people who are coming back to work or who are changing jobs or career switching, or women, coming back after having babies and that kind of thing, or, men supporting, coming back from, pregnancies and stuff like that, all kinds of things. Like, I feel like sometimes we're not as open as we could be, to all kinds of people's experiences. I think that's gotten better over the years, a lot better, to be honest. And I feel like there's, certain things you need to have certain skills for that you should have coming into a role. But I do think that some of that, I think, would be where I would make some sweeping changes. And also, I think the imposter syndrome that a lot of people have coming into something is real. And I think people don't always even try because they feel like they would never get a job. So I think that's something I would definitely take a look at. And frankly, bro culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over it.
Yeah, a lot of people are, and they should. Right? They should be.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into hiring practices, I think, too. But
Right.
I think that just I have no time for that, you
Mm.
know. And I think that's very people are very aware of that, and there's a lot of companies are making great strides around that, and Microsoft is definitely one of them, and I appreciate that a lot.
Mm. Yeah, I'm
you know
definitely with you. I have a daughter who's graduating high school this year who I have high hopes for. She wants to be in IT and she wants to do stuff
yeah,
she wants to do without going to college. And so I have high hopes that, that's you're right. We need to change some of those hiring practices. We need to be more open. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I would hold the same wand. Absolutely.
yeah. And I do a lot of work with, and I was on a Women in SharePoint Mardi Gras celebration today for a moment with ladies that I haven't seen in a long time, because of COVID, and uh, just long time, since we've been on the road. And we keep talking about, groups and that sort of thing. And I think it's really positive, that so many different groups have cropped up for people to talk. And, in Clubhouse has been a new interesting place where people are talking to each other in different ways. And so I'm always in TikTok, and there's different mediums for people to express themselves. And I really appreciate that, and things that really think about inclusivity, and that think about how we can breed that and make that a part of it, a part of the conversation all the time. And also that I really appreciate the work on allyship as well that's happening right now. I have friends in my life that are like, I don't even know what to say, Heather. I just don't say anything anymore. And I'm just like, well, you can't do that. So I think, it's like about lifting people of color and women up. And I also feel like you have to bring men along, you know, and so it's not just a one-sided kind of thing. So those are some things I would, I guess, change or continue to enhance with my wand.
Mm.
So
Great ideas. Those are perfect.
thanks.
So you're in this role now. It's been 8 months, so you've had a bit of time to get somewhat comfortable in it.
Yeah.
Where do you see this going for you? Where do you see your involvement in the Power
Hmm.
Platform and getting it out there? I mean, I know Ignite's coming up in a month, but even beyond that,
Yeah.
where do you see this going?
Uh, I think that it's so exciting, first of all, because it's, comparatively working in a community that is still rather new, I guess. I mean, Dynamics has been along such a long time, right? So that's not necessarily new, but I think the words power and platform being together along with Dynamics in, under James Phillips org is, it has some newness to it, and there's new products that have come out. Power Virtual Agents is still very new. So I feel like there's just a huge opportunity, for people, I think, on a couple of different levels. We've got developers who are, doing the things that they've done forever, but then there's these tools that they can use to maybe do things a little bit faster, or bring along other people in their organizations to get them going a little bit faster, potentially, depending on what they're using. And then I think it's just the inspiring stories of folks. I was just on, with Foyan, who worked at Standard bank in Nigeria, and she actually just moved to Avanade in Dublin, Ireland, and speaking to her about her story about upskilling. I work a lot with Donna Sakar on that, the upskilling programs and career switchers. And so I just feel like, the Charles Lamana talks about the low code revolution, and I think it's definitely there. It's about being able to, I was teaching with John Levesque, who is on my team, who he's, Power Automate, and Mr. Flow and all of that stuff. And so we were teaching somebody internally today about how to create a flow because they hadn't done it before. It's like you can be in Microsoft and not know everything about every little teeny product, that happens. It's just like that you can't know everything. I mean, there's a few people who do, but and so it was exciting to show somebody how to use the technology and have them go, oh, that's okay, that's not, I get it, and so I feel like the opportunity is there for people who are not traditional devs, but who are interested in, creating something with the Microsoft 365 stack, right? And obviously, all it there depends on licensing and all that kind of fun stuff. I say fun stuff, but but I do think that the opportunity is there for people to create just tons of power apps and to really automate their businesses in ways that they wouldn't even thought before. It's all of the paper stuff too, clipboards and, things hanging on walls to like manage your business that really can be dealt with Power Apps and Power Automate and then now bots too. So yeah, I feel like more of the business side will be using these products along with, because traditionally, me being a marketer, I was like, I'll give you an example. I was for my podcast, Mavens Do It Better. So we're in our third season, and it's something that I, do on my off time that I love. And I was like, I want a way to send a thank you to my guests, and I want to have a form, and I want that form to go into a SharePoint list, and I wanted to kick it off a notification to send to the gal that works for me so that she sends a thank you note and a da 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 to them. So it was like, doing that. And I did that in Power Automate, and but that was instead of me having to be like, send the email, wait, like ask them like what's your t-shirt size or what, you know what I mean, like all that kind of stuff. So that was just a simple thing that I did that I figured out how to do it myself from watching John pretty much on videos like last year or whatever that was, or a year ago before I was even on the team, So so that's sort of that kind of stuff that can save you time and energy because you're already using Microsoft 365, right?
Yeah, it's
So
pretty amazing. I have people from my office, from the HR department, who want to automate their own internal processes, forms
yeah,
that they were using before that were just PDF forms or whatever, and they
yeah.
want to automate those things. And so they're asking me, hey, how do I use these tools? And so it
Hmm.
gives us a chance to say, oh yeah, I'd love to show you how to use those, and but
Yep.
please document them. But yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to show you how to use things, and yeah, you're right, it's definitely going to open up once people realize the potential. I think it's going to open up some creativity and get some new things going.
Yeah. And I think also the amount of uh you have things coming into teams, right? And that are like on your rail or in, being shown and leveraged in teams. Like for me, even if I wasn't Microsofty, but I love Teams, and I was an early adopter of it, and I worked on the Teams engineering team for a while as a vendor, and so I've, you know, been playing around with it. I did a lot of Skype for Business transition for people and working through that. But it's all of the, bringing together of these things so they're in that one place for you to get your hands on, right? And so I think that is really interesting for like this large, beautiful SharePoint community that we've been a part of, right? And that I've been a part of for a long time. The crossover between SharePoint and like Power Apps for sure is right there. You know what I mean? It's like such, there's a great connection there, and I think a lot of people who are in like MVPs, Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals, who are working in the office, in space, like they're definitely in Power Platform too. I see a lot of people on both or working on both things. So yeah, it's fun.
It's pretty awesome. Well, Heather, thank you so much for spending time with me today. It's always great
Sure.
to chat with you. You're such a lively personality, which I enjoy, and I'm, I'm soaking up the sunshine coming through your window from afar. And
Yay, right on.
thank you
So
so much.
absolutely. I will say I'm always thankful. Haha. I just got that sign and I was so excited about it. I was like, you're my first time I get to point at it. So there we go. So I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, your show is great. And thanks for the time, and everybody have a good one. Lovely.
All right.